Welcome to the Cheating Secrets channel. We hope you enjoy today's story. Although many can forgive offenses, no one ever forgave contempt. Benjamin Franklin. In Austin, Texas, there was a beautiful winter day. The air temperature was -6 degrees Celsius, with a light westerly breeze. The evening looked even more spectacular. A full moon. A temperature around -12 degrees Celsius at 8 p.m. All of this matched the perfect forecast. To top it all off, Florida-Georgia Line was in concert at the Moody Center, and Henry Canna had 2 front-row tickets for him and his wife Melanie. The 33-year-old couple, having been married for almost 5 years, was supposed to celebrate Valentine's Day a week earlier. The only problem was that in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, it wasn't very warm. In fact, it was about -11 degrees Celsius cold. There was 30 centimeters of snow on the ground and, according to forecasts, another 20 centimeters before it would melt. What does this have to do with Henry, Melanie, and their date with Tyler Hubbard, Brian Kelly, and the rest of the team? Good question. Henry was called at the last minute to fly to Sioux Falls the day before to fix a major computer malfunction at the Sanford Biomedical Center. When the problem arose, their neonatal department was participating in a nationwide research project. Henry was the lead IT specialist in his company and rarely went on business trips. However, since Sanford was their third largest client, Henry took a first available flight from Austin on Thursday. It took him about 6 hours to resolve everything. He had a return flight booked to Austin at 6 a.m., which would get him home 10 hours before the concert. The only problem was that by 3 in the morning, 30 centimeters of snow had already fallen on the ground, and it was still coming down. Notifications about delays appeared on the airline's app on his mobile, and finally, the flight was canceled. Henry stayed up all night looking for options. Henry received good compensation for his work, and he was worth every penny, but his boss would not be pleased if he booked a ticket home. However, he had just saved his company several $1,000s more than a charter would have cost, so he tried that option. By 5 in the morning, it was clear that no one would be flying anytime soon. The snowfall continued all day, and the temperature dropped to about -9 degrees Celsius. Some called it the storm of the decade. All Henry could think was, damn. Around 9 a.m., he dialed Melanie's office direct number. Her assistant, Kim, answered after the second ring and connected him. "Hi, babe. I'm so worried about tonight. What time are you planning to come home?" "Mel, have you seen the weather in Sioux Falls?" "No." "Henry, I knew you were headed there, but wasn't paying attention. What's happening?" "Unfortunately, a damn pile of snow. So far, 30 centimeters, and possibly another 20 today before it stops. All flights are canceled." "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I was so excited about tonight. I know I've been working a lot lately, and this was the perfect chance to start a romantic weekend together. Damn, sometimes I hate your job. I'm upset too, Mel. But you know, I only travel 4 or 5 times a year, and only when absolutely necessary. It was a serious crisis with a major client. As you said, we've rarely been together these past few months, but it's you who've been working the late hours, not me. Besides, my job allows us to lead a damn good Texas lifestyle. You're right, Henry. It's just that lately, we're apart more often than together. I know a lot of it is on me. I'm working hard to make partner, which means I have to dedicate time to it. You've reached the level where you can mostly set your own schedule and keep it within reason. I'm getting there, but it'll be another year or so before I can start controlling my work time. I miss you and us. I miss you too, babe. Why don't you invite your friend Sue and go have some fun? Front row tickets and trying to sell them would be too much hassle. I can order a car to pick you up and take you home. Don't let my mess ruin the enjoyment of a great show." Melanie hesitated and suggested simply selling the tickets. She would just stay home and watch the concert stream online. She could easily sell the tickets through their account. She kept saying and saying that she didn't want to go if he wasn't with her. Henry resisted, urging her to go and have fun. He reminded her about her new pair of Tecovas boots and how sexy those boots looked on her. After a few minutes of argument, she conceded. They both said, "I love you," and hung up. 5 minutes later, Melanie found her burner phone in the back compartment of her large bag and pressed the speed dial button. This was her part of the conversation. "Hi, how's your day going?" "Well, maybe I have something that could cheer you up." Henry just called and he's stuck in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Yes, he had to rush there on business, and then a heavy blizzard started. Can you believe his luck? Good luck to you. Anyway, I still have 2 tickets for tonight, but hubby will be chilling in the great wide north. Is Diana still staying with her parents in Memphis? Great. How about we spend the evening together? I've got a new denim skirt and boots I've been wanting to try on. I'll call a cab to your place and we'll head out from there. How does that sound? Yes, I'll order a dark cab to make sure we have tinted windows. Giggling. Yes, let's party all night after the concert. See you around 7. Can't wait. Melanie worked diligently and skipped lunch to manage leaving the firm by 4:30 p.m. She wanted to luxuriate in a bath and rest for a while before heading to the concert. Before leaving the office, she called her best friend, Susan O'Connor. They met in her first year at the firm and immediately clicked. With just a year's difference in age and getting married. Within 2 weeks of each other in the same year, they had a lot in common. Hi, Susie. Honey, do me a favor. How's it going? Mel, I'll be happy to help if I can. If Henry ever asks you about how our evening at the Florida Georgia Line concert went tonight, your answer will be, amazing. Why the hell, Mel? Are you still messing around with David the jerk? Mel giggled. Yes, I just can't get him out of my head. I know his colleagues' partners call him that because he can be a jerk, but let me tell you, there's another funny reason for the nickname, jerk. Sue was not amused. Mel, Henry is an amazing person, and you guys together are an amazing couple. This is the time when you start thinking about kids and building a family together. You're not in college anymore, sister. Why are you spreading your legs for this jerk? You're risking everything for some guy. Mel sighed. Her friend was faithful, but at the same time, she was a bit more conservative in her views on marital fidelity. I know, Sue. Henry is a great guy, and I'm not planning to lose him. David is wild and fun. We're both happy in our marriages, but really, between us, there's just this sexual spark that shakes our worlds. Mel, you really need to think before you speak. If you were happy in your marriage, you wouldn't be messing around with your boss in romantic escapades. And he wouldn't be sleeping with one of his employees if he was satisfied. Which part of your marriage vows did you not understand? Forsaking all others is pretty straightforward. Mel started to tire of her friend's lectures. Sue, are you going to cover for me or not? If Henry ever asks, I won't provide any information and will never bring up the topic. But if he asks me directly, I'll say I was with you. Where are we? Sitting? Front row, right in the middle. Thanks, Susie, you're the best. Next weekend, we're spending the day at the spa salon. It's on me. So Henry bought great tickets. Now you're using his gift to cheat on him with David, Sue thought. Out loud, she said, okay, bye. Mel rushed home and began preparing for the date. She drank a couple of glasses of her favorite Pinot Grigio, shaved her legs in a bubble bath, and then got dressed. She wore a snow-white lace bra, allowing her to unbutton a few top buttons of her white blouse. Her skirt was about 15 centimeters above the knee, showcasing her slender legs. The boots were dark gray and matched her vest. They were a Christmas gift from Henry. It was the first time she had worn them, but she was so excited that she didn't catch the irony of the situation. She looked in the mirror and was pleased with what she saw, looking back at her. She thought she would turn a few heads tonight, but she was only interested in one. After ordering a taxi, she drank another glass of wine. When it arrived, she mentioned making a stop on the way to the concert. The driver was happy to oblige. More money in his pocket was fine by him. The car pulled up to a gated cottage community. Melanie gave him the entry code. They drove 2 blocks and stopped at the curb. As if on cue, David Miller, Melanie's boss, dashed out of his house and jumped into the back seat, greeting his companion with an enthusiastic and passionate kiss. Oh my God, Mel. You smell wonderful and look stunning. I think we should skip the concert and head straight to your place. Melanie responded to his kiss, parting her lips and purring into it. Calm down, big boy. We'll have plenty of time for that later. It's going to be a great show. The taxi driver kept silent but noticed the wedding ring and diamond on her left hand as she kissed and caressed her lover. Trash and a bastard, he muttered under his breath. For her part, Mel never intended to cheat on her husband. They met on a blind date set up by her best friend. There was an immediate mutual attraction. She was outgoing, friendly, and had an easy way with people. Henry was a bit more reserved, but there was an inner strength about him that attracted her. He never overshadowed her, but she always felt safe in his presence. He was kind but firm, warm-hearted, and wise beyond his years. He went to college on a scholarship and after graduating, served 5 years in the Marine Corps. This experience, combined with his personality, made him someone others could always rely on. Mel found this trait as sexy as his 190-centimeter height and rugged good looks. Henry was skeptical of Mel's infatuations from the start. He never considered himself a catch or anything special. The Corps taught him that his duty was to look after those around him. You led from the front, and retreat last was drilled into him at the base. This principle made an impression on him that stayed even after returning to civilian life. So, being pursued by a beautiful woman slightly embarrassed him. The only time he felt out of his element was when Mel suddenly grabbed him and kissed him passionately, or looked at him across a crowded room with a gaze that could only mean, "I need you to figure out how to fuck me right now." As they grew together, Henry's fears subsided and Mel's confidence in them grew. They married after an 18-month courtship, which included a 4-month engagement. With his knowledge in communications and natural abilities, Henry landed an excellent job at his current firm in Austin. By his 3rd year at the company, he led his own department. In the 5th year, he became the vice president of IT development and client support. Mel graduated from law school 9 months after they got married and secured a solid entry-level position at a mid-sized firm in Austin, specializing in oil and mineral rights law. She was very astute and caught the attention of 3 partners at the firm, Connor, Sims, and Miller. And that's when the troubles began. David Miller was a 43-year-old married man with 2 teenage children. His wife, Diana, was the principal of one of the local high schools. Mel liked her, and she always thought they matched well as a married couple. Much about her boss was a mystery to her. However, it was clear that David Miller was a tough nut to crack, worth working for. He worked at least 55 hours a week as a senior partner, while 2 of his colleagues barely worked 40. He expected his team to work around 70 hours a week. Mel was in her 3rd year at the firm and had finally moved up to a 65-hour workweek. Miller seemed pleased with her work and gave her more substantial assignments. They began spending more time together, more time during the day and after hours, more time with the team and just the 2 of them. Soon, the loneliness became much more significant than team interaction. They began to communicate more intimately and even touched each other at times. They were playing with fire. Both understood it. It took 6 months before the spark turned into a real flame. They won a major court case that brought in a profit of about $2 million. David's share was supposed to be around $400,000, and Mel was to receive a bonus of $45,000. A 6-person team gathered in David's office to celebrate the event in the evening. The guy was in such a good mood that he even opened a bottle of his collectible bourbon for the occasion. An hour later, the party was winding down. David asked Mel to step aside for a minute. This caused a couple of smirks among the more observant guests. David saw the last visitor out and quietly locked the door. He turned around to find Mel leaning against his desk, already unbuttoning her blouse. David paced the room like a man possessed. He wrapped her in his arms and engaged in a passionate kiss. David was not as big or strong as Henry, but he was more decisive. He was one of those guys who knew what they wanted and went for it. He had wanted Mel ever since they began working closely together about 2 years ago. His lust had been building up for a long time, and now it was finding its release. David moved in and out of Mel for the next few minutes. Holding her tightly by the hips, he took her from behind as she lay bent forward, sprawled across his desk. "You're amazing, Mel," David finally said, pulling away from her, allowing her to turn around and embracing her. "I love that hot, dirty talk, but I think you're just incredible, and I hope this isn't all there is." "No, David, I don't think this is just a one-time thing. I feel a connection with you that I don't want to fight against. We're both married and want to keep it that way, but I hope we can have moments like tonight very often." "I'm glad to hear all that from you, Mel. Yes, we both want to preserve our marriages, but I also want us to have more moments like this. Let me show you how much I want it," Mel responded, kneeling down. "That was 6 months ago. And now Mel and David were entering the concert venue hand in hand. They concealed their affair well, but made efforts to meet at least twice a month. Tonight, if they were worried about being seen, they didn't show it. They weren't overly affectionate, but even an outsider could tell it was a date between two people drawn to each other. Back in Sioux Falls,